Little quotes, little everything. You know, I'm getting all kind of little hints, little everything. You know, we ain't hiding. Anybody won't see a nigga? Yeah, we ain't hiding. You know who the we is? Yeah. But I'ma say this and I'ma say this shit one time. You know, I ain't media. I ain't anything. You heard me? That's how I'm coming out here. I'm letting y'all know the real.
Bentley is accused of shooting Brenda Mullins at her home on Joyce Drive in Baton Rouge around 10:30 last night after an argument.
But I think when it hits close to home, it becomes very real that there's pain, there's suffering.
On the night of September 16, 2020, tragedy struck in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, when 40-year-old Brenda Mullins was shot and killed in her own home on Joyce Drive. The man responsible? Her 24-year-old ex-boyfriend, Bentley, a local rapper known as Juice Bentley. Brenda had ended their relationship, but Bentley refused to let go. That night, a heated argument erupted for their intimacy, and moments later, Brenda was gunned down in cold blood. But this wasn't Bentley's first brush with violence. Before murdering Brenda, he had already been wanted by police for a string of crimes, including home invasion, illegal use of a firearm, and being a felon in possession of a weapon. In a previous attack, Bentley had stormed into the home of another girlfriend and fired his gun. Though he missed his target, the bullet shattered a window and hit a parked vehicle nearby. Instead of facing justice, he went into hiding, only to resurface at Brenda's home weeks later, demanding she take him back. When she refused his advances, he responded with deadly force, ending her life in an instant. Before we begin the story, we want to take a moment to extend our heartfelt condolences to the friends, family, and loved ones of Brenda Mullins. This devastating loss has left an irreplaceable void in the lives of those who knew and cherished her. This crime happened in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a city known for its deep southern roots but also plagued by a high crime rate. Located in southeast Louisiana, Baton Rouge is the fifth largest city on the Mississippi River and home to Louisiana's largest parish. With a crime rate of 6,880 per 100,000 residents, the city's violent crime rate is more than double the U.S. national average. Brenda Mullins was born on December 10, 1979. She attended Estruma Senior High School and later worked at All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge. But more than anything, Brenda was a devoted mother. She adored her children, cherished every moment with them, and lived her life centered around their happiness. Her death wasn't just a statistic, it was a devastating loss that left a hole in the hearts of those who loved her. By the way, we post true crime stories and strange cases. If this interests you, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support means a lot and helps us continue sharing this content. Brenda Mullins was known for her warm and vibrant personality. Friends and family described her as kind-hearted, well-liked, and someone who could light up a room with her presence. She was a loving mother and a hard-working woman who had built a good life for herself. At one point, Brenda became romantically involved with 24-year-old Bentley, a rapper from Baton Rouge who was trying to make a name for himself in the music industry. Bentley had a presence on YouTube and social media, where he often flaunted stacks of cash and a flashy lifestyle. But beneath the image he portrayed online, he had a dark side, one that was well known to law enforcement. Bentley had a history of legal trouble with multiple prior arrests. His relationship with Brenda, despite the 16-year age gap, seemed passionate at first, but things changed when she discovered he was seeing multiple other women. Realizing she couldn't accept his infidelity, Brenda decided to end things. However, Bentley wasn't willing to let her go. In the months leading up to Brenda's murder, Bentley had already shown violent tendencies. He had gone to the home of another girlfriend and, during an argument, pulled out a gun and fired a shot at her while her children were present. Luckily, the bullet struck a window and a nearby car instead of anyone inside. Bentley fled the scene before police arrived, and despite issuing a warrant for his arrest, authorities couldn't track him down for months. Then, on the night of September 16, 2020, Bentley showed up at Brenda's home on Joyce Drive, near Breck's Oak Villa Park. She refused to let him inside, speaking to him through a closed door. She made it clear she wanted nothing to do with him anymore. But Bentley wasn't going to accept that. Consumed by rage, Bentley lost control. In a desperate, violent outburst, he pulled out a gun and fired through the door. The bullet struck Brenda while 3 of her children were inside the home. Her kids frantically called the police, but by the time first responders arrived, it was too late. Brenda was rushed to the hospital, but she succumbed to her injuries shortly after. Didn't take long for detectives to identify the suspect. They knew exactly who they were looking for, 24-year-old Davian Bentley. But tracking him down would be another battle. The man who had spent months on the run after his previous crime had just escalated to something far worse: cold-blooded murder. The moment Davian Bentley pulled the trigger, he didn't just take Brenda Mullins' life, he sealed his own fate. But instead of facing the consequences, Bentley did what cowards do. He ran. Immediately after the shooting, Bentley fled the scene, disappearing into the shadows.
Crime alert: a man accused of killing his ex-girlfriend is on the run. Davian Bentley is accused of shooting Brenda Mullins at her home on Joyce Drive in Baton Rouge around 10:30 last night. After an argument, Mullins was taken to the hospital where she died. Bentley fled. He's wanted for a list of charges, including first-degree murder and home invasion. He's considered armed and dangerous.
4 weeks, he managed to evade law enforcement, despite already being a wanted man. Even before killing Brenda, Bentley was on the radar of authorities. He had outstanding charges, including home invasion, illegal use of a weapon, felon in possession of a firearm, and criminal damage to property. But now he was no longer just a fugitive, he was a murderer on the run. As police intensified their search, the Baton Rouge community waited anxiously for justice. Then, nearly a month after Brenda's brutal murder, the Baton Rouge Police Department made a major announcement. Federal marshals had finally tracked down Bentley. He was arrested over 1,000 miles away in Denver, Colorado. His capture was a relief, but for those who loved Brenda, it didn't erase the pain of losing her. Bentley was swiftly extradited back to Baton Rouge to face a long list of charges: first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, illegal use of a weapon, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. When authorities spoke to the press, they highlighted Bentley's long history of violence. They revealed that just 2 months before killing Brenda, Bentley had terrorized another woman, another ex-girlfriend. In that horrifying incident, he forced his way into her apartment and fired his gun in front of her and her innocent children. The bullets shattered a window and struck a parked car, but by sheer luck, no one was hurt.
Back here in Baton Rouge, police tell us they caught this man, Davian Bentley, in Colorado. He is facing charges for the death of a woman back in July.
Yeah, police believe Bentley shot his former girlfriend in a home along Joyce Drive during an argument. He was already wanted on several charges and will now also face murder and attempted murder charges.
Even after that crime, Bentley had managed to stay hidden. But justice finally caught up with him. Now Bentley faced the full weight of the law: first-degree murder, attempted murder, 3 counts of illegal use of a weapon, felon in possession of a firearm. The system had failed to stop him before, but now there was no escaping accountability. Despite pleading not guilty, the jury saw through his lies. Bentley was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Brenda Mullins should still be here today. She was a mother, a friend, a daughter, a woman who deserved to live a long, happy life. Instead, her story became another tragic reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the urgency of protecting those at risk.
Hang over, I feel it. Y'all toe up. I feel it, cuz.
To Brenda's family and loved ones, our deepest condolences. May her memory be a source of strength, a call for justice, and a reminder that no one should ever suffer at the hands of an abuser. In August 2022, Oklahoma City was shaken by a horrible tragedy, one that would haunt the community for years to come. It all began shortly after 4 a.m. when a frantic call came into 911.
Saw blood on the ground under the car.
A distressed family member reported that 30-year-old Francois Littlejohn was making terrifying threats against his own children.
It's so funny. Look at my son right here. I just told him I'm finna kill his ass. You hear me? That's fucking fucked up, cuz, on my soul, nigga. But see, everybody think I'm joking, right? I'm playing, right? Everybody think I'm fucking playing, right? Right, okay. This gonna be the last time. This be the last video I make. Nigga, God rest my soul.
According to relatives, Littlejohn had discovered that the mother of his children had been unfaithful. Consumed by rage, he sought revenge in the most horrific way possible, by targeting their 3 innocent children. Even more disturbingly, he live-streamed his intentions on Facebook. In the video, he was seen sitting inside his car with his kids, 3-year-old Trinity, 4-year-old Aaliyah, and 6-year-old Karen, waving a gun and making chilling statements about what he planned to do next.
We begin here at 6 with breaking news, and we do want to warn you before we go any further. This involves the death of 3 children, and you might want to move your kids out of the room. The scene takes us to far west Oklahoma City, where a jogger found the 3 children, all under the age of 7, and their father dead inside of a car.
Authorities immediately launched a desperate search to locate the vehicle before it was too late. But tragically, their efforts fell short. Hours later, a passerby noticed a car idling in a quiet neighborhood. As they peered through the window, they were met with a gut-wrenching sight. All 4 occupants inside were dead. Francois Littlejohn had carried out his horrifying plan. He had shot each of his children before turning the gun on himself. When officers arrived, they found a firearm and a cell phone resting on his lap, a grim testament to the horror that had unfolded inside that vehicle. Back at the family's home, local news footage captured an especially heartbreaking image. A small pink and white bicycle lying abandoned in the yard, a haunting symbol of the young life that had been stolen far too soon. The senseless loss of 3 innocent children left the entire community in shock, struggling to comprehend how something so cruel and unimaginable could have happened.
I have a child of my own. Couldn't believe it happened. Right around the corner. All I can think about is the mom, what she might be going through.
It's just sad, man. The world's hurting over it. The father, he was supposed to be the protector of the kids, and, he went against that in every way possible. The babies didn't deserve that. Nobody deserved that. It's just a real sad situation, and, I just...
For police officers and paramedics, encountering tragic and horrifying crime scenes is an unfortunate reality of the job. But what they witnessed upon opening the door of Francois Littlejohn's vehicle was something far beyond the horrors they were accustomed to. Earlier that morning, a jogger had been passing through the quiet neighborhood when she noticed a parked car with its engine still running. At first, she thought there was only one person inside, Francois Littlejohn himself. But something about the eerie stillness inside the vehicle unsettled her, prompting her to step back and call 911. When law enforcement arrived and finally opened the car door, the full extent of the nightmare was revealed. Inside, Littlejohn's lifeless body sat in the front seat. But in the back, a far more devastating sight came into view: the tiny, motionless bodies of his 3 children. Officers who had likely seen their fair share of horrific scenes struggled to contain their emotions. The weight of what had just been uncovered was too much to bear. Adding to the heartbreak, it was later revealed that officers had actually visited the Littlejohn household the night before to conduct a welfare check. Someone had been concerned enough to request that police look in on the family, fearing something terrible might happen. However, when officers arrived at the home, they found it completely empty. They had no idea that within mere hours, the father and his 3 young children would be dead.
3 children executed in a car by their father, who then turned the gun on himself. We were doing various things to try and locate them, but ultimately it was a jogger that passed by and called police and let us know where they were.
In the wake of the tragedy, neighbors began speaking out, revealing chilling details about the troubled home life within the Littlejohn residence. According to those who lived nearby, fights and loud arguments were nothing new. Violence and commotion were a regular occurrence. It was no secret that this was far from a peaceful household. One neighbor recounted an especially disturbing moment just one day before the murders. Around 2:30 a.m., she was awakened by the sound of the couple yelling at each other in the street. But what made it even more unsettling was that their 3 children were also outside, looking visibly scared and confused. No one could have imagined that this would be one of the last times they would be seen alive. The horror of the murder-suicide sent shockwaves through the community. No one could comprehend how a father could commit such an unspeakable act against his own defenseless children. People who had never even met the family found themselves overwhelmed with grief. A small memorial soon formed outside the family's home. Heartbroken neighbors, some who had only ever seen the children playing in passing, left flowers, stuffed animals, and candles as a tribute to the young lives that were stolen too soon. It was a silent but powerful reminder that those children were loved, even if they had suffered behind closed doors. Perhaps the most tragic part of this entire case is that there can be no justice. Francois Littlejohn made sure of that when he took his own life. There would be no trial, no accountability, no opportunity for those children to be avenged. And for the officers who responded to that horrific scene, the burden of knowing they were too late, just hours too late, was one they would carry with them forever.
I had left the house with 3 of the small children, and made some threatening statements. They do not live here. This is a little bit from their house, maybe half a mile or so from where they live. We think he just drove here, and this is where it happened.
As details of the tragic murder-suicide unfolded, an even more heartbreaking revelation came to light. Just days before the horrific events, the children's mother had left the family home after an alleged domestic altercation with Francois Littlejohn. She had likely made the difficult decision to leave in order to protect herself, never imagining that it would be the last time she would ever see her 3 children alive. There is no way she could have known that the man she once trusted would soon commit an unspeakable act of violence against their kids. Now, in an instant, she had lost not only the father of her children but all 3 of her babies, taken from her in the most unthinkable, cruel way. The kind of pain she was forced to endure was beyond comprehension. How does a mother even begin to process such a horrific loss? How does she wake up each morning knowing that her children are gone forever? The grief was so overwhelming, so unimaginable, that it left an entire community shaken to its core. In the wake of such an unimaginable tragedy, neighbors, friends, and even strangers felt compelled to do something, anything, to honor the young lives that had been stolen.
I have a child of my own. Couldn't believe it happened. Right around the corner. All I can think about is the mom, what she might be going through.
It's just sad, man. The world's hurting over it. The father, he was supposed to be the protector of the kids, and, he went against that in every way possible. The babies didn't deserve that. Nobody deserved that. It's just a real sad situation, and, I just...
Desperate to bring some light to the darkness, the community decided to come together and hold a candlelight vigil for 6-year-old Karen, 4-year-old Aaliyah, and 3-year-old Trinity. The vigil was held at the very place where their small bodies had been found. The atmosphere was heavy with grief, yet there was also an unspoken unity among those who gathered. People who had never met the children before came to pay their respects, leaving behind candles, stuffed animals, and handwritten notes. A sorrowful silence filled the air, interrupted only by quiet sobs and the flickering of candle flames. One neighbor, visibly shaken, spoke through tears about how surreal it all felt. We know bad things happen in the world, but when it happens this close to home, it becomes painfully real. The suffering, the heartbreak, it's all right here in our neighborhood now. And we're all just trying to find a way to deal with the pain. Another resident echoed similar sentiments, saying she had never expected something so horrifying to happen in their tight-knit community.
I wanted to show the family that we are here as a community, to show love and support for what happened to these 3 beautiful angels, and that we really are hurting for them.
It's like we know that bad things happen in the world, but I think when it hits close to home, it becomes very real, that there's pain, there's suffering.
The Littlejohn family home had once been just another house on the block. Now, it stood as a haunting reminder of the unspeakable tragedy that had unfolded within it. As the community struggled to make sense of what had happened, many felt a deep need to channel their sorrow into something meaningful. Links were shared for organizations dedicated to domestic violence awareness, including the Paisley Project, a group that helps women and children escape abusive situations before it's too late. A GoFundMe page was also set up for the grieving mother, who was now facing an unimaginable loss. Donations poured in, not just from locals but from people across the country who had heard about the tragedy and wanted to help in any way they could. But no amount of money could undo what had happened. No fundraiser, no kind gesture, no outpouring of love could bring those children back. And that was the hardest truth of all. The deaths of Karen, Aaliyah, and Trinity serve as a painful reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence and unchecked rage. This was not just a tragic story, it was a warning. A warning about the dangers of staying silent. A warning about the irreversible consequences of letting anger spiral out of control. For the mother left behind, there are no words that can ease her pain. For the officers who arrived too late, the images they saw that day will never fade. And for the community, the loss of 3 innocent children will forever leave a scar. A reminder of the tragedy they never thought could happen in their own backyard. Please subscribe to the channel to stay updated about the future upload. Thank you for watching another video of Truth and Crimes. Share your thoughts about this heartbreaking case in the comments below. We value your input. We dedicate ourselves to delivering accurate and compelling true crime stories using information from reliable sources. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon with another captivating story.
And video shoot them all. Video shoot them all. We're gonna drop them bitches back to back to back. Yay.